On the 2nd of June 1969, the Australian aircraft carrier HMAS Melbourne was operating in the South China Sea approximately 600 miles southwest of Manila as part of a Seattle naval exercise designated Sea Spirit. She was conducting flying operations, turning into the wind at approximately 22 knots to recover aircraft, when the American destroyer USS Frank E. Evans crossed her bow from starboard to port at a distance and speed that did not allow the Melbourne to avoid her. The Melbourne's bow struck the Evans amidships and cut her in two. The forward section of the Evans sank in approximately 3 minutes. The aft section remained afloat. 74 American sailors died, all of them in the forward section. The survivors numbered approximately 232. The collision was the second time the Melbourne had cut an American destroyer in two. 13 years earlier, on the 10th of February 1964, the Melbourne had collided with USS Voyager during similar flying operations in Australian waters, killing 82 Australian sailors. The Melbourne's second collision with a destroyer during carrier operations was the specific fact that defined the rest of her career and her place in Australian naval history. A ship associated not with the strikes she had launched, but with the ships she had destroyed. The cause of the Evans collision was a navigational error by the bridge crew of the Evans. The specific sequence of events that produced the error has been documented in the investigations that both the United States Navy and the Royal Australian Navy conducted after the collision, and the findings are consistent in their identification of the critical failure. The Evans turned the wrong way. The Evans was maneuvering to take station astern of the Melbourne, a standard maneuver in which a screening destroyer moves to a designated position relative to the carrier. The Melbourne had signaled her intention to turn into the wind for flight operations, and the Evans was responding to this signal by adjusting her own course to maintain her assigned screening station. The specific turn required to reach that station, given the Melbourne's intended turn direction, was a turn to the left. The Evans turned right. The bridge of the Evans at the time of the collision had 3 officers present: the officer of the deck, Lieutenant, junior grade Ronald Ramsey, and 2 other officers. The commanding officer, Commander Albert McLemore, was not on the bridge. The watch arrangement on the Evans at the critical moment was therefore junior, and the specific decision-making about the maneuver was being made by officers whose experience and judgment were being tested in a situation that developed faster than their response to it. The investigation found that the officers on the Evans's bridge had not correctly understood the geometry of the maneuver required, that the communication between them about the turn direction had been inadequate to catch the error before it was executed, and that the maneuver was initiated without the verification that the specific circumstances warranted. The Melbourne, seeing the Evans turn toward rather than away from her bow, sounded the danger signal and ordered full astern. But the closing speed of the 2 ships and the distance between them at the moment of the Evans's turn were insufficient to allow the Melbourne to avoid the impact. The Melbourne's bow struck the Evans at approximately 0841 hours local time. The impact cut the Evans approximately 1/3 of the way back from her bow, separating the forward section from the aft section with the specific cleanness that a large carrier bow moving at speed through a destroyer hull produces. The forward section, containing the forward engineering spaces, the forward berthing areas, and the men who were in those spaces at the time, sank in approximately 3 minutes. The aft section remained afloat, and the men in the aft section were eventually rescued by the Melbourne and by other vessels in the exercise. The 74 men who died were in the forward section. They died in the initial impact, in the flooding that followed the hull's separation, and in the sinking of the forward section in the 3 minutes between the impact and the disappearance of that section beneath the surface. Their deaths were as rapid as the sinking that produced them, and the men in the aft section who survived were separated from their shipmates by the physical geography of the ship's division, in a way that gave them no ability to assist the men forward. The Melbourne stopped engines and backed away from the wreck. The aft section of the Evans was taken in tow and eventually brought to Subic Bay in the Philippines, where it was examined and found to be beyond economical repair. The forward section was on the bottom of the South China Sea. The ship that had been commissioned in 1945 and had served for 24 years was in two pieces, one of them irrecoverable because of a turn in the wrong direction in the South China Sea on a June morning. The investigation conducted by the United States Navy resulted in court-martial proceedings against the officers who had been on the bridge of the Evans at the time of the collision. Lieutenant Ramsey and the other officers were court-martialed and found guilty of negligence. The commanding officer, McLemore, who had not been on the bridge, was found to bear indirect responsibility for the inadequate watch-standing preparation of his bridge officers. The sentences imposed reflected the specific degrees of culpability that the investigation had established, and the professional careers of the officers involved were ended or severely damaged by the findings. The court-martial proceedings generated controversy within the naval community and among the families of the men who had died, partly because of questions about the adequacy of the investigation, and partly because of the specific question of whether the Melbourne and her crew bore any responsibility for the collision that was not fully examined in the Australian investigation. The Australian inquiry found the Melbourne free of fault, consistent with the basic navigational principle that a ship conducting flight operations and turning into the wind has the right of way over screening ships that are maneuvering around her, and that the Evans had maneuvered in a way that created the collision. The American families who sought accountability for the deaths of the 74 found the findings of the two investigations sufficient to establish cause, but not always sufficient to provide the specific closure that the deaths required. The postscript that has defined the Evans story in the decades since the collision is the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The wall, as it is known, was dedicated in Washington on November 13, 1982, and lists the names of approximately 58,200 American military personnel who died in the Vietnam War. The criteria for inclusion on the wall as they were initially established required that a death occur within a defined geographic combat zone associated with the Vietnam War, or that a death be directly attributable to hostile action in connection with the conflict. The deaths of the 74 Evans sailors did not meet these criteria as initially applied. The collision occurred in the South China Sea, outside the official combat zone boundary, as a result of a navigational accident rather than hostile action, during a sea-to exercise rather than a designated combat operation. The Evanses 74 were not on the wall. Their exclusion was felt with a specific sharpness by the survivors and the families of the dead, because the Evans had been deployed to the South China Sea in the context of the Vietnam War, because her crew had been in the region as part of the American military commitment to that conflict, and because the distinction between dying in a combat zone and dying in waters adjacent to it during a military exercise connected to the same conflict felt arbitrary to the people who had lost sons, brothers, and husbands on June 2, 1969. The campaign to add the Evanses' names to the wall was conducted over decades by the survivors of the collision, the families of those who died, and the veterans advocacy organizations that supported them. The specific arguments made were that the distinction between the combat zone boundary and the location of the Evans collision was a bureaucratic line that did not reflect the operational reality of the sailors' service, that the men had been deployed in support of the Vietnam War effort, and that their exclusion from the memorial that honored Americans who died in that era's conflict was unjust. The names were added. In 2003, the Department of Defense determined that the Evans sailors met the criteria for inclusion on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and the 74 names were inscribed on Panel 23 west of the wall. The inscription took 34 years from the collision to the wall, a period in which the families of the dead had been told repeatedly by various bureaucratic processes that their losses did not qualify for the recognition that the memorial represented. The Melbourne's subsequent career was not long. She had been the subject of a lengthy Australian governmental review of the carrier's value and the cost of her continued operation following the Voyager collision in 1964, a review that had nearly resulted in her decommissioning before the Evans collision occurred. After the Evans collision, the question of the Melbourne's continued operation was revisited with the additional weight of a second destroyer destroyed in carrier operations, and the ship continued in service until her decommissioning in 1982, at which point she was sold for scrapping. The scrapping was conducted in China, and the Melbourne was broken up at a facility in Guangdong Province in the mid-1980s, ending the career of the ship that had cut 2 destroyers in half during flying operations. The name Melbourne has not been reused for an Australian warship. The name Evans has not been reused for an American destroyer. The name Voyager has been reused for a subsequent Australian destroyer commissioned after the Melbourne's Voyager had been sunk, which is a naval naming tradition that the specific circumstances of the previous Voyager's loss made a conscious act of reclamation rather than a routine reuse. The aft section of the Frankie Evans was towed to Subic Bay and examined and then sold for scrapping. The forward section, with the remains of some of the 74 who died, is in the South China Sea at the depth to which it sank on June 2, 1969. The men whose remains are in it were buried at sea in a manner they did not choose, in waters they were in because of a war that was being fought in adjacent waters, during a maneuver that went wrong because a turn was made in the wrong direction. Their names are on panel 23 west of the wall in Washington. It took 34 years to put them there. The turn was to the right when it should have been to the left. 74 men died. 34 years later, the wall acknowledged them. That is the full accounting of what June 2, 1969 cost.